Would you like to know how to make real ginger ale?
Oh, here it comes, here it comes.
Here it goes. Now, if that's not homemade ginger ale, I don't know what is. The old-fashioned way.
Using real ginger with a little bit of spice, this is the good stuff.
Cheers. Hey guys, welcome to the Fermentation Adventure. We are Paul and Sarah. Join us on this journey to explore the world of fermentation.
If you'd like to learn how to make ferments like these, start now by clicking subscribe and hitting that bell so you don't miss a thing.
Today we are making one of our favorite drinks. It's something that you would probably remember from being a kid. It's fun, fizzy soda, and we're actually making ginger ale.
But it's gonna be healthy.
We're actually making the real ginger ale. The stuff you get at the store is not real ginger ale. It might have the flavoring of ginger ale, but it doesn't have real ginger in it.
And that's the kind you actually want when you have an upset stomach, when you're feeling nauseous. That's the kind of ginger ale you want, the one we're making right now.
Why not make it yourself? It's actually very, very easy. You're gonna love this. Today we're using real ginger. I mean, look at this stuff. So interesting. Spicy, delicious, flavorful ginger ale.
So how do we make ginger ale? Well, the first thing you need is a ginger bug. And you can check out our video to learn how to make a ginger bug. This is what we created. It has the ginger in there, the liquid. But that's the starter. That's the culture starter you need in order to make your ginger ale. So now that we've got our ginger bug, we are ready to make ginger ale.
So where do we start? Since we have our ginger bug starter already made, now we actually want to make the ginger ale concentrate. So we want to make the flavoring. And to do that, we start with the real ginger. What we're going to do is chop this up and make a simple syrup, more of like a ginger ale concentrate that we're going to use as the flavoring, and then we're going to add the ginger bug to that. So we're making 1 gallon today. We're making 1 gallon because we love ginger ale. We're going to bottle it and be able to bring that to parties, share it with our friends. Every time we've ever brought ginger ale somewhere, everyone loves it. The spicy flavor, the bubbly, fizzy fun. So in order to make 1 gallon of ginger ale, we like the spiciness of almost about a cup of grated ginger.
It really doesn't matter what size and shape that your ginger is in, as long as it's chopped up a bit. So it could be coarsely chopped, it could be grated, it could be in the food processor. We're gonna make it easier on ourselves and actually put it in the food processor. So first we're gonna wash our ginger.
If it's not organic, normally I do like to peel the ginger. It might be a little bit less bitter than having that bitter skin on it. I'm gonna go ahead and chop all the skin off, and then we're gonna go ahead and grate it. Ooh, so yeah, look at that. I have chopped into the ginger, and there's a little bit of a blue ring around there. It might actually be the type of ginger that you've got, which is actually called a blue ring Hawaiian ginger. So it's actually from Hawaii.
And this is actually the first time that we've had this specific ginger, so we were able to tell you about it.
The other reason it might be like a bluish color, maybe it's a bluish gray throughout the entire piece. It's only because it's been stored for a long time, but it's still perfectly fine. The longer you store the ginger, maybe the less spicy, the less flavorful it is. But it looks like this is actually a really fresh ginger that has a little bit more of a blue ring. It's gonna be perfect.
Definitely, and I can tell because I am smelling it already. The first time you cut into it, woo, yeah, that's gonna be delicious.
You know, we've actually chopped off a piece of this before and planted it.
So if you wanted to do that, all you'd have to do is cut off a piece and you plant it down into the ground, maybe a couple inches down.
Yeah, probably about double of how thick it is.
There you go, so that would be about a couple inches on this one.
Maybe even just kind of lay it down. Because what it likes to do, if you've ever seen ginger growing, usually it's like in the ground about like that, and all these little fingers come up out of it. It's like this green spike. And it's actually a really beautiful little palm tree looking thing. It's fun to watch it grow.
Actually, another name for this ginger ale is ginger beer. And the reason that people say that, there's a teeny tiny bit of alcohol in this soda. So, depending on how long you ferment it, it can be anywhere between 0.5% up to 5% if you let it ferment longer.
So I'm going to chop this into a little bit smaller pieces to fit into the food processor. That's about, a cup. Let's go ahead and put that in the food processor.
All right, let's try it. That That looks like a pretty good amount. And we can see all the fibers. Grating it or cutting it by hand would have taken a long time. So I'm really glad we used the food processor.
Okay, this is the fun part. Guess what we are making?
Ginger ale?
Well, first, since we're making the ginger ale concentrate, we need the flavoring. So it's a ginger ale concentrate, but it's actually called a wort.
What? It's called a wort?
So since we're making 1 gallon of ginger ale, let's start with the concentrate or the wort. We're going to start with a half a gallon of filtered water. And we're starting with purified, filtered, distilled water, something that doesn't have any chlorine in it. Otherwise, it will kill the ginger bug starter.
We got a half gallon in there. We're going to put the ginger right in it and bring it to a boil.
Once we have the water boiling, we're going to wait maybe 10 to 15 minutes just to extract all of that flavor. And it's going to be very, very hot. So be sure, do not put the starter in there yet or you're going to kill it.
Do not do that. Since we're done boiling the water, the next step is we got to put in that sugar.
And for 1 gallon, we normally use about 2 cups of sugar. That's usually fairly sweet. That's the way we like it. You can use less or you can use more. Just be sure to know that the more that you use and the longer that you ferment, the more alcohol is going to be present.
So then when do you put the ginger bug in it?
So first, we actually want to cool down the concentrate. And you can do this in 2 ways. You can just wait for it to cool to room temperature. Or if you're in a hurry like we are, that's why we're starting with a half gallon of water and we're bringing that to a boil. And then we're going to add a half gallon of cold water. We're also going to do another little trick. We're going to fill the sink up with cool water and maybe even some ice cubes and put the pot in there first. So now we need another half gallon.
Got it right here. We're going to finish it out and just pour the rest in.
Once the wort has cooled, then we're going to put our live starter culture in there and then bring it to life, and then it's going to eat all the sugars.
So we switched out this water on the side about 2 times, and it's been about 15 minutes. So actually the water inside is actually pretty cool.
To go along with the flavor of our ginger ale, we want to make it a little bit tangy, so we are adding some lemon juice. For 1 gallon, we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice.
That's a nice fresh lemon.
Let's juice this beautiful little lemon. The reason we're adding lemon juice is just to make it a little bit more tangy. I mean, right now it's already very spicy and it's going to be very sweet, but we want a little bit of tanginess in there too. Maybe for other recipes you could add a whole lot of lemon juice and then you'll have more of like a ginger ale lemonade, which that could probably be pretty good too.
That would be good. But right now we're just making straight ginger ale. I want to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. We're going to add that right into the pot. 1, 2. Next thing we have to do is strain the ginger pieces out of this. You could do this a number of ways, but right now we're going to use a little mini strainer. We're going to use a measuring cup. And we're going to pour it right into there. You can see the way we have it set up. If we start pouring, it's not going anywhere. And pour it into these containers.
So the containers that I like to use are actually used wine jugs. So I think we had some sangria in here. We enjoyed it, which is kind of a bonus. You could either buy a jar or you could actually just get a wine bottle like this. And we sterilize these. We wash them out really well. You can see there's like just a little bit of water left. We're just going to dump that out and make sure there's absolutely no chlorine. And really we're just going to ferment right in this jug. We're not going to pressurize it though because this would actually explode. So the process we're going to do, we're going to put everything into this jug, wait a few days, and then we are going to be bottling it into these beer bottles. These are designed for pressure. This is not.
I'm just going to hold it in place and it should hold for him.
Probably good right there.
So we're going to do it in batches. So with each batch of this, we're going to pour it right into our fermenting container. I'm going to funnel it in there as well, just to make sure that I don't make a mess. So we keep going through this process. I'm thinking we should go ahead and press that ginger in there and get as much of the flavor as we can in there. The color looks beautiful. One thing I'm noticing is that the color really isn't affected by the blue ringed ginger. At first I thought maybe it would turn out blue ginger ale, but not really. Since we're making 1 full gallon, and these are approximately larger than a half gallon each, we're actually going to fill it probably about 2/3 of the way on each container. So we have our ginger bug.
If you remember from the ginger bug video, With this starter, you need 1/4 a cup of the starter to 1 liter of whatever soda you're making. And right here we have 1 gallon, which is about 4 liters. So we need 1 cup for the entire batch. So that would be half a cup and half a cup
of the ginger bug. So we've got our half cup measuring, and I'm going to pour the ginger bug right in here, and then we're going to pour it into the strainer and the funnel. What we just put in there is something living. So it started out with something dead inside. It's just flavoring and sugar, and now we just put something that's alive. So now it's got to ferment and make the whole thing a living organism.
You want to make sure these are very, very loose because these bottles aren't able to handle pressure, otherwise they'll explode.
Wait, I want you to say that again. That is super important, guys.
What you want to do is put these on very loosely.
Loose.
You don't want to tighten it because the pressure will build up and it will explode. There's a lot of sugar in here, and there's cultures that are eating the sugar and building up the pressure, so you don't want to do that. Maybe if you have a mason jar that you're putting it in, you just cover it lightly with a paper towel or a cloth.
So you're just setting it on top. You're not even screwing it on. It just matters so things don't get in it. That is it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to ferment these, and they are going to stay on the counter just like this, maybe outside of direct, harsh sunlight, of course. Mm-hmm. And we're going to leave it for about 3 to 4 days. We're going to show you how to bottle it next. The bottling is what gives it the carbonation.
Yes, we are bottling it next, and we are going to be using these beer bottles.
So if you want to get them ready now while these are fermenting, or if you need to go get some bottles, then you have a few days to do it.
And you can find these bottles on Amazon. We'll put a link in the show notes. Welcome back, fermenters. We are 24 hours later, and check out the results.
It's really interesting. So I actually thought it was mold because of the white little pockets forming on the top like that. I thought it was mold. It is not mold.
Hey guys, it's been 48 hours, so this has been 2 days, and look what we have. It's bubbling quite nicely. Both of them definitely have a lot of action showing. At first we thought this was mold, but now it's definitely apparent. That's a lot of bubbles. They've all joined together, and there's a lot of big bubbles forming in there.
All right, guys, after 3 full days, it looks about the same as it did yesterday. We have bubbles. We have lots of bubbles on top, so it's looking really good. I think we should be able to bottle by tomorrow. Here we are, day 4 days later, and we see some bubbles, but the fermentation process seems to have slowed a little bit because the temperature dropped outside. So since it's a little colder in the house, we're gonna let it sit 1 more day and get it to ferment a little more. We're gonna try bottling this tomorrow after 5 days.
We are back after 5 days, and we are ready to bottle this 1 gallon of ginger ale.
We need 1 of these bottles to actually be our tester bottle.
So when we're bottling up a big batch of something, so say 1 gallon, we need the 8 bottles, but 7 of those are going to be glass, and I like to use 1 plastic. So 1 plastic bottle to be the tester, so you can squeeze this and see how much pressure is going on inside. If you have a glass bottle, you squeeze it, it's going to be the same firmness. But this will give you a little bit of clue of what's going on in here. So we have 7 of these, 1 of these for the 1 gallon. And when we have a tester bottle, I like to use a bottle that has a little thicker plastic. So maybe like this Perrier bottle or like a soda bottle, something like that. And then we can just know what's going on inside. So let's get the bottling. When we're bottling, we want to be really careful with this. This is really dangerous if you're not careful. If you're fermenting something like a fruit soda, any kind of like blueberries or any fruit that goes in here, it fizzes really quickly. It builds up lots of pressure very, very quickly. That's why we want to use the plastic. If you notice on the bottom here, we have a lot of the lees building up. All of the bacteria and the yeast, they've eaten everything they wanted to along with all the ginger pieces, and it just kind of settles to the bottom. But what we want to do is mix that up. Now some people, they like to filter that off. When you're making beer, if you want like a really clear ginger ale, if you want something that's not so cloudy like this, you might want to, it's called racking it off. But this, we would like to mix it up because we want all of that goodness. It tastes really good.
I think it adds to the flavor. So we're gonna do the tester first.
A plastic bottle, maybe up to a little over halfway. With the glass bottles, I usually like to fill it maybe up to this neck here to still give it a lot more room. Because when the pressure is building up, you want a little bit of leeway just in case it's pressurizing too quickly.
So this is the piece that adds all of that soda-like bubbles to it, but it's natural.
Here's bottle number 2. Filling it only up to about the neck there. So that one looks good. Let's go ahead and cap that off. These bottles are so cool. I mean, look at that. Let's continue on. Pretty soon we're going to be drinking some good ginger ale. If you guys try this at home, you are going to love the flavor. It is so delicious.
Ta-da! The ginger ale is all bottled. We have 7 of them, but they have to sit to carbonate.
Plus one tester.
Plus the tester. So how do we know when it's ready?
Well, it really depends on how cold your house is. So for us, our house is usually between 70, 72 degrees. So if it's colder, it's going to take longer. If it's warmer, it's not going to take as long. It also depends on what you're fermenting. So for ginger ale, we usually go between 2 days and about 7 days.
But that's still a pretty big range. How do you know between 2 and 7 days how many days it's actually going to take?
That's what we have the tester for. So the tester, we're going to pick this up and squeeze it. Right now, it has a lot of give to it.
Let me feel.
It's a lot of give.
A lot of give.
So whenever it pressurizes, it's going to be a little bit less, a little bit less. So we're going to test it every single day to know what's going on in here. And usually it's about ready when it just has the tiniest bit of give. It's still pretty firm. And usually we like to go just a tiny bit after that.
We are going to test it out and come back to you to let you know how many days it actually took. And then we're going to drink it and see what it tastes like.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Bottling after 1 day. Still a little bit of give. It's not ready yet. 2 days bottled. It's getting pretty firm. Has a slight bit of give. We're gonna wait 1 more day and then it should be ready to drink. We are back after 5 days of fermenting on the counter and 3 days bottling. So today, this is the 3rd day. We have 1 gallon of ginger ale that we're about to try.
Woo, so excited. So the next step is we have to test the tester bottle. Yesterday, it had a tiny bit of give, just the slightest. Today, it is pretty firm, so it's ready. I'm gonna try it just a little bit and see just how much fizz we have in our tester bottle.
Let's see if we can hear it. Oh,
whoa.
Did you hear that? Actually, it kind of scared me a little bit.
That was pretty loud. Oh. And look at that. It's coming up.
Woo.
Oh, actually, thought I was gonna keep going.
Yeah, you never know how much pressure is going to be in here until you open it. That's why we like to open the tester first.
We are ready to open the real bottle because it is ready.
All right, so when I'm opening these flip top bottles, I like to be a little careful. If you just flip it right open, it's going to explode. So I usually put a little pressure on the top and then slowly release this until you hear the fizz. All right, you ready? There you go.
Oh, here it comes, here it comes.
Here it goes. Now, if that's not homemade ginger ale, I don't know what is. Look at that.
All right, let's try it.
Homemade ginger ale the old-fashioned way.
Using real ginger with a little bit of spice. This is the good stuff.
Cheers.
Oh my gosh. This is the best.
So good. Okay, so what is next? So now we know it tastes good. We're really happy with it. So now all we have to do is move those bottles into the refrigerator because we don't want them to carbonate any longer. You've seen what happened when we opened this bottle and it poured all over the counter. Even worse, if you leave this bottle fermenting longer, it can explode. We move it into the refrigerator and maybe after a couple weeks, maybe even a month, if we don't want the carbonation to build up so much, maybe we'll even pop the top a little bit and just kind of off-gas it to release some of the pressure. It's still going to continue fermenting in the refrigerator, so be very careful with that. You don't want them to fill up with pressure and explode. If you're going to leave it in the fridge for a long time and you're worried about the carbonation building up and the pressure, we'll pour off maybe up to about there, so we have a lot of air and headroom in there. So then if the pressure builds up, then it's compressing all of that air, not just a little tiny bit of air.
If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below.
If you like this video, give us a like and be sure to subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. Get out there and create some culture.
And a little tidbit for those of you that are still watching, this is the last video we are making with this exact kitchen.
We're doing demo.
Stay tuned to see the difference in the future videos.
Cheers!